What actually happened to making multiple takes just to get a right one? I don't really know, but just in case you've actually maybe even seen my last review about the Ultrasound Signature Pro, then you might know that I've said that the name Pro actually wasn't all that fitting for its intended use case scenario, like for example in a recording studio or for mixing in general, just because they were way too fun sounded. Now these, the beyerdynamic 1919 Pro, these very well deserve that title, and to be completely honest with you, for me, they are already a little bit too pro. What exactly I mean by that I'll tell you later on, but for now let's see what's in that case they come with this quite thick case that will actually take up quite a lot of space in your bag because they just don't rotate or fold, so it's not super portable. But here we can see the second pair. Actually, this is the standard pair of ear cups that you get. This is the one that has more bass with more holes. I'll get into that a little bit later. Here are all the cables and such stored. The corded one, for example, that I did not like at all and didn't even use already on my Audio-Technica M50s. I wasn't a fan of that because what I've used for this review period just was the standard flat one, which is 3 meters long and comes with the 1/4 inch adapter that can be screwed on. Definitely quite something handy because it's just one piece and most people will use these headphones definitely just with this. On the other hand, we have mini XLR, which actually even has a lock function, which is super nice. So this will stay secure and in case something happens, you could still replace it. The cable itself, I gotta say, has one issue. It always wants to tangle up. It always wants to go to its original state. So even though its quality is fine, it can get a little bit annoying, but let's just forget that. It's not that important after all. What's important is the headphones. And as you can already see by the design, it's obviously a beyerdynamic. It looks like all of them, just in this case it's a little bit more expensive, also a little bit more premium because very well machined. Nothing is sharp, everything feels high quality, very solid, precisely machined like we are known from the Germans. And everything is done so nice. We have some nice padding here, actually even with a separation here in the middle, not quite sure why, but very soft. The leather feels high quality, all the nice stitching here, the cables here do a nice job. So actually very well done, and I want to actually go already into the first important part when it comes to the comfort, which are these ear cups. I'm pretty sure this is memory foam because it takes quite a while to get to its original state. It is definitely thick enough because my ear at no point inside touched. And usually I'm not a big fan of circular ear cups because I like it more oval. But these are so big in general that I had no issues at all, even though it does maybe look like it. But once I put them on, it's just right. It fits. Clamping force is better than, for example, at least as from what I know still, what's in my memory from the DT770 Pros, because it is there a little bit, but it feels way nice, especially since the ear cups feel just a tad little softer. They still feel a little bit hard at first because they don't have much give, which is good though, because that just prevents them your ear touching inside. So I'm fine with that. The padding on the top is absolutely fine because you don't notice the headband at all. You have, in case I've maybe not shown this, you have steps. And they definitely stay like this. Once on your head, they definitely won't move. And the whole construction feels fine. They feel very robust, very solid. And this, as you can see, is actually very stiff. And this is actually good because once you put them on, you set that angle that's right for you and it will stay like this. So in overall, I have to say, this is one of the definitely more comfortable ones because it still is noticeable. And due to being velour and open back, they actually don't heat up so much. So sweating is not an issue. And for a longer period of time, I could use them without any issues. Okay, they are maybe not the very most comfortable ones. They are still better ones, but no complaints, not at all. Now, isolation, since open back, of course, is not really there. Even though I have to say, I feel I'm a little bit quieter. Not muffled or something, but I hear myself a little bit less. But that's fine. Oh, of course, leakage is there since it's open back. But I actually want to already start with how easy they are to drive, or actually how hard, because they aren't really efficient. 250 ohms, okay, yes, but about as efficient roughly as the Sennheiser HD600. So it definitely shows that you will need, of course, obviously a headphone amp, but since they're made for pros and for this price, I think that's kind of obvious thing. And I think the better the headphone amp is, the more you will get out of them. They have the potential, because sound signature wise, I would say they are definitely, at least with the analytical pads, they are very analytical. Not super flat actually in some ways, but definitely they feel like exactly what they're made for studio recording. I would say, just real quick to cover the other pads, the bassy ones, it's a very similar sound signature, just a little bit more bassy and overall a little bit warmer, a little bit darker, but a little bit, the bass is noticeable, but the rest is very similar. So I personally, since I like it neutral or flat, a little bit more than the bass, because this sounded a little bit artificially boosted if you once heard these. So this sounds more balanced. The analytical ones just sound a little bit more right to me. The bass is quite tight. It doesn't extend super deep, but it has a lot of precision inside, because you can hear everything very detailed within, and that's just what shows that this is a very analytical, so very well made headphone for mixing, especially with the mids that still, I think, overall are a little bit overshadowed by the highs and by the bass. Usually, from what I've experienced in the past from Beyerdynamic, they have a little bit recessed mid, which is not so much of an issue here, because vocals sounded very nicely balanced. Nothing gets favorized, so not the vocals or not the instruments, which just makes it so good for studio monitoring. Now, sound signature is actually, and that's a little bit of a gripe of mine, white, but it's so good that you can separate everything. The one thing that I did not like so much was, though, that vocals sounded very far off. I usually like them either straight in front of me, very close, or kind of straight up in my brain. And these sounded very far away. That's just personal taste, I guess. You could hear, especially if you have multiple singers, them very nicely distinctively, and all the instruments are laid out very, very nicely. But imaging gets lost a little bit due to the kind of wide sound section. It feels a little bit too wide, at least for my personal taste. But I think for mixing it will be very good. Now let's actually cover already my kind of one and only gripe, the highs. And I think with the right music, or let's say maybe with the wrong kind of music, you could maybe torture me with this with high volumes, because the highs can be really piercing. There is a little bit of a weird peak that gets especially S sounds. And if you listen to these with my review that usually already has a lot of S sounds, harsh ones, it can be a little bit of a pain, because especially long-term use was fatiguing. The highs just wear out. Now the great thing about it is that you get a lot of highs, obviously, with all the details and the clarity, and they feel quite lightweight, because even they will have a strong, slightly warm, but mostly actually analytical, dry, nice punchy bass, but not overall oomphy. They provide a really nice kind of flat analytical experience, but also, I have to say, a little bit unimpressive, a little bit kind of already tending towards boring. And that's why I definitely feel these are made for someone who wants to get his job done and not really enjoy music so much, because I could listen to music and I did like what I heard, but I did never really fall into a kind of a dazing state, or I really enjoyed it. I did not really felt all that super satisfied about them, which is maybe not intended, because obviously for the pros, and like I said, if you want to use them for mixing in a recording studio, even though I don't mix myself, I think these would do a great job, because you hear all the details, you have a lot of precision everywhere, the soundstage is nice, separation is great, the bass, you have more than enough that you need, the mids are still there, and you hear the vocals even though they are quite far apart quite nicely. And if you need to hear anything, if that's important in the highs, you will definitely get that with some piercing harshness. Now, one thing I actually completely forgot to talk about is what kind of music they work best with. Now, if you ask me, I would say if you are a very analytical listener, then they work with everything, from dubstep to classic to ballads to rock, metal, because if it's just important for you to get all the details in the sound on its own and not so much about the listening experience of the music itself, then you can do everything. Now, if you are someone who's looking more for fun and so on, you won't really maybe get this so much, because the sound is already kind of the flat, kind of linear, boring side, because the bass is not really boosted, not even all that much with the more bassy ear pads, and there is just this sparkle missing. They just try to interpret the sound as it is, not really do anything to it. They don't try to add anything or take it away. They are very, very analytical. Hence the name analytical pads that they are using here for, and that they absolutely do. So, like I said, they kind of do everything or maybe not. It really depends on your listening preference. But overall, to kind of boil it down, price-wise, at around 530 euros at the moment, so I would say roughly $550. Yes, for the professional, this is a good investment. If you have the proper amp to power them, if you need all the details, if you need something quite analytical, and if you want maybe a little bit more fun, use the standard pads. You will be able to listen for them for hours, especially due to the comfort. Like I said, the highs. But that's actually something you could quite easily just get rid of if you use maybe an equalizer or just something and take a little bit of a notch, like 2 or 3 dB off at around 10K, and then things should be fixed. Because when I did that, then I could enjoy music for a long period of time. But since I already mentioned enjoying, it's not quite satisfying enjoyment. If someone is a very analytical listener, and then if he wants to hear all the little details, if that's something that he likes, if that's something he's satisfied by in terms of music, then yes. Personally, for me, it's more like the overall experience. If I can chill out with music, if I can listen loud to them for a long period of time without getting fatigued, and so that's kind of a little bit more important. And that's why they're simply not made for me. But I definitely get that everyone who's serious about correct sound, not really colored, wants all the precision, wants a good comfort, and everything else in a very well sturdy package that definitely will hold up for quite a long time, and you can't easily replace pretty much everything. Then they get my full recommendation. Like I said, not for someone who's really looking out for an chilled out listening experience or just wants to listen to music for a fun way, because these are definitely not nearly like, for example, the Ultrasound Signature Pro for fun. These are for business, musical business. But okay, that's it. I hope it was helpful. Otherwise, have a nice day. Bye.